You may have noticed, as we've been looking for our patterns with multiplying with decimals, we are beginning our baseline 10 times smaller each day. So it was 5, then it was 5/10ths, then it was 5/100ths. Even when we multiplied by 7s over here and powers of 10s over here, we are starting with a smaller amount each day. That is going to be true again today. This is our last day looking at these patterns, but we're going to do this a little bit different. I'll show you what the baseline is right away. Oopsies, it's 5/1000ths. And we're doing powers of 10. But what I want us to do here is I'm going to have us this time do what I tell you I don't like you to do when you are writing your basic facts. We are going to write out the entire problem first and then look for some of the patterns as we do the answers going. We'll probably go forward this time. So let us write out all the multiplication facts first. So we would expect our largest answer to come when we take 5/100ths 1,000 times. We would expect it to be a little bit smaller when we do 5,000ths 100 times. We would expect our answer to be even smaller when we do 5,000ths and we only take that 10 times. If we take 5,000ths one time, we would expect to get 5,000ths. Then if we take 5,000ths 1/10th of a time, that will be even smaller. If we take 5,000ths 100th of a time, so we take these teeny tiny pieces, but we only take 1/100th of each of those 5, that will not give us very much. And when we take 1,000th of 5,000ths, that will be very small. You notice I started writing my numbers smaller. Why? Because I'm going to need lots more zeros in decimal places here. If we take 5,000ths 1,000 times, we will get exactly 5. If we take 5,000ths 100 times, we will get not 5. In fact, we don't get any whole amounts. We get 5/10ths. If we take 5,000ths 10 times, no whole things, no tenths, we do get 5/100ths. What about if we take 5,000ths one time? Well, we should expect to get only 5,000ths. Fine then. What if we take 1/10th of the 5,000ths? Well, we won't have any tenths, we won't have any hundredths, we won't have any thousandths, but we will have 5/10,000ths. If we take 1/100th of 5,000ths, no tenths, no hundredths, no thousandths, no 10,000ths, we will have 5/100,000ths. And if we take 1/1000th of 5/1000ths, we will have not tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, we will have 5/millionths. Perhaps by doing it like this now, you're seeing another pattern. What happens if we apply this idea over to a multiplication fact of 5s times 7s, and we change those 5s and 7s as far as decimal amounts? So glad you asked. Let's do that. We will take 5/100ths times. That's our baseline fact. But what we're going to do is, again, just like we did over here, we're going to write out the multiplication facts first and then see what happens to our answer as we multiply by 1,000, 100, 10, ones, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So here we go. 5 hundredths times 7,000 will equal 5 hundredths times 700 will equal 5 hundredths times 70 will equal 5 hundredths times 7 will equal an amount. 5 hundredths times 7 tenths. 5 hundredths times 7 hundredths. And 5 hundredths times 7 thousandths. Let's see how this turns out. 5 hundredths times 7,000, that comes out to be 35. 5 hundredths times 700, well, that is 3 5/10. 5 hundredths times 70, ooh, wow, that is 35 hundredths. 5 hundredths times 7 is 30, ooh, not enough zeros, 35 hundredths. 5 hundredths times 7 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4 places past the decimal. 35. This was thousandths. This is 10 thousandths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places after the decimal. Thousandths, 10 thousandths, 3,500 thousandths. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places after the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places after the decimal. Thousandths, 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths, millionths, 35 millionths. Again, look if you can see some patterns across both of these when we multiply with decimals. The more decimals you multiply, the more decimals should come up in the answer. The more decimals there are in the numbers that you multiply, the smaller your amount is. Look at this, only had 3 decimals in the multiplication problem, and so it ends up being 5 tenths. Down here, we had 6 decimals in the multiplication, and it came out to be 5 pieces out of 1 million. Really small amount. We are taking small amounts of small amounts. Multiplying with decimals. Then we need to see if we can find some fact families and see what the connection is with dividing and multiplying and the decimals. Oh, what fun!